Hello, star people. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Ascend the Matrix podcast. I'm your host, Chrys King. I'm a shamanic healer, psychic medium, astrologer, ascension guide, and creator of the Medicine Alchemist and Ascended Astrology. I assist awakened souls, light workers, and starseeds like yourself heal, connect with spirit and star beings, create 5D businesses, and ascend the false matrix. And this podcast will take you on a multi-dimensional journey through the world of shamanism, ascended astrology, UFOs and starseed contact, conspiracy theories, or should I say truths, and the multi-dimensional nature of reality, with the intention of bridging the gap between 3D and 5D so that we can ascend the matrix together. And my guest today is Nicole Damiana, a holistic nurse, intuitive guide, and conscious hip-hop artist helping women rewire from survival into bliss. Known as an Astro-Somatic Strategist, she blends science, spirituality, and sensual embodiment to guide women in reclaiming their energy, pleasure, and purpose. Through her platform, The Goddess Catalyst, she teaches that bliss isn't a luxury, it's medicine. And Nicole's unique way of blending hip-hop music with the capital G goddess codes that she channels into the collective is a stunning example of an ancient frequency ready to be received by the masses.
Your word is causing your creations, so please be mindful what you're saying, cause generations upon generations been tricked to think they could be complacent, that what they doing and what they thinking they have no meaning, and now they sink into low vibrations. Down low, down low. No refunds.
Thank you all so much again for joining me for another episode of Ascend the Matrix podcast. I am so excited, as always, to bring a guest to you to have an amazing conversation with and to really bring like minds together and brilliant minds together, if I do say so about our next guest, to give birth to something new and for you all to witness, especially because today will be very special for those of you who are human design experts. We have a manifestor in the, I'm just going to call it regular human design. There are multiple different systems now, but in the regular system we're all used to, manifestors are a very small amount of people here, and the two of us are manifestors. And when manifestors come together, there's a lot of magic that can happen, and we open a channel. So Nicole, I want you to introduce yourself for our audience and let us know what it is that you do, what you're all about, and then we're going to just let this flow the way it's supposed to, as manifestor energy does anyway.
Absolutely. So, hi, I am Nicole Damiana. I am known as the Goddess Catalyst on social media. I am a woman of many, who wears many hats. I'm a holistic nurse. I am a high vibe hip hop artist. I am a multidimensional healer and pleasure and power priestess, and a few other things. I'm an astrologer and human design super enthusiast.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing all the different ways in which you are fulfilling your soul mission here. As a manifestor myself, I do tend to wear many hats, and it's because there's such a small amount of us, and there's even a fewer amount of manifestors in the collective that are in alignment or tapped into their soul mission or fully on their throne, if you will. And with that comes some responsibility. And so I think we who have stepped up into saying yes to the channel that's open and bringing something through for the collective, we have gotten more water come through our pipes than we may have thousands of years ago when there were more of us who were in our power. So it feels like there's many things that have birthed through you, but it's all coalescing towards the same place, it sounds like.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So tell me more about what you do.
Well, I am on a journey of return, as we all are. And for me, that journey has been about rediscovering the goddess in me. And that's a whole rabbit hole that we can definitely go down.
I would love
But
to.
yes, yes. And So I'll kind of take you back to how I got into this goddess pathway and what that has meant for me. Um, I have always been very drawn to women's empowerment, to women's issues, to the feminine, and not just like, well, duh, you're a woman, but almost to the point of kind of obsessive, right? Like I used to, like when I was in high school, I volunteered at Planned Parenthood for the women's clinic. I was obsessed with all things like pregnancy, and I was obsessed with like the Teen Mom show, if you remember that. and and just I just have always had this awe and this fascination with the feminine. And that has been an interesting journey in itself because that was a part of me that was encased in a woman who actually had to be very masculine for a lot of my life. And
Yeah.
so there was this internal yearning for this feminine energy, and I'll talk more about what I mean by feminine energy, not just, lipstick and high heels, but that divine feminine energy. So there was this yearning for that, and yet I was raised by a single mom who um she's an Aries, and she is a very, very Aries, and she was heavily in her masculine, and she had to be. I come from a lineage of women who um, were tough, who were very much having to operate in their masculine, and who did so to survive. And I would venture to say that for generations upon generations, women have had to be in their masculine, not just in my family line, but most of us to survive. And this isn't necessarily a new phenomenon, even though we may feel like it has come to a head in more recent, society. But even if we think, and really we could have a conversation about the dark feminine also, but even if we think from the stance of women having to really be in survivor mode. And so even the receiving that women were doing in previous generations, it was attached to survival. And so
Mhm.
it was essentially this tainted form of feminine energy. So it's been a really, really, really long time. Mhm.
Would you say that this tainted form of feminine feels a little bit almost artificial or something that would never have even occurred in an organic matrix where there is this inversion of the gender principles that are happening here and this distortion and imbalance of the gender principles? And that's where the dark feminine was born, because I want to make a distinction. When I talk about the dark feminine, I could be talking about Kali, I could talk about Shakti, I could talk about ayahuasca, I could talk about Lilith in her purest form, not her demonic form. But
Mhm.
then there's this other dark feminine, which I almost want to call like dark matter or like false dark feminine. You're
Mhm.
allowed to, even in the yin yang symbol, the yin part of it is black, right?
Right.
When I go to the 13th house in ascended astrology, the entity that presents itself there is the Great Mother. She says,
Mhm.
I am the keeper of all things ready to be created. He is
Mhm.
the domain of that which has already been created, which is form.
Mhm.
I am the infinite potential between that which is already created. And that feels like dark feminine, empty space. What we're
Mhm.
talking about is this artificially satanic feminine almost that
Yeah.
forces females into, or the feminine, into modes of manipulation instead of force, but it matches the overly aggressive force that the masculine has been tainted with as a result. So
Yeah.
I want to know what your thoughts are on that distinction, because sometimes
Yeah.
I do use the term dark feminine, and I'm not talking about the cool ones. I mean the moon
Yeah.
and the whole construct around
Yeah.
these dark mothers, the mothers of darkness and Luciferianism. What
Yeah.
I also honor and love my dark goddesses like Persephone and Hecate. I honor them. I also honor that there's darkness in them that needs to be removed while they're able to still be in their darkness that's not supposed to be there. There's been some dark magic witchy stuff put on some of these archetypes that their pure archetype originally did not have, even though they still were on the darker side, if we want to look at that shadow, things like that. You're allowed to have that in 3D. This false matrix has made those 3D dualities so extreme. So tell me what your thoughts are on all that.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for that distinction. And I would even say, as opposed to dark feminine, I would say toxic feminine. And I would even
Love
clarify what
that.
I was
Because you never
referring
hear that
to.
term. I never hear that term.
Yeah.
You
And I
only
would
hear
even,
toxic masculine, you never hear toxic feminine. And it's better so that we can leave Lilith and Persephone alone.
because here's the thing. When we talk about the feminine is darkness. So
Right.
I don't create a distinction between the dark feminine versus the feminine, and yeah, it's really trendy and it's a big thing on social
What if we
media.
use the
Dark
term
feminine.
inverted or distorted?
Yeah, yeah.
Toxic even doesn't feel, toxic almost feels like it happened by accident, like something
Mhm.
seeped into it. Inverted or distorted feels like we've designed it to be this way.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm like, I even need to start using a different term, because I consider Black Moon Lilith in astrology dark feminine energy, when actually Lilith is allowed to be dark, but I don't mean it that way. I mean it inverted feminine energy.
Yeah, yeah,
All that
absolutely.
rage that's there that isn't supposed to be there in the that rage, that force that the feminine has is not the same as anger and vengeance, right?
Mhm.
Lilith has anger and vengeance because God told her she was supposed to be on the bottom. You're not allowed to be on top. I
Mhm.
agree with him. She's pissed. Okay. Also, that is a lie. So that whole thing in her archetype isn't even supposed to be there. She is not a demon. She's the first woman.
Mhm.
She was the primordial woman who wasn't as stupid as Eve in that realm of myth and story. So I really feel like it's important that we make this distinction, because it's causing confusion for people.
Mhm.
And there is so much beauty in the idea of dark feminine if we don't associate it with these false matrix, unnecessary duality programs.
Yeah, yeah. And and there's so much to unpack with that. Because like I was saying, the dark feminine is the feminine. The feminine is darkness.
That's
And when
right.
I say darkness, I am meaning in a very specific sense, right? So I'm not being symbolic. I'm not talking about, oh, your shadow side, your bad qualities. No. The
Nicole,
feminine,
do you think all that happens here, though? Do you feel like if we were in that 5D that had no duality and it was just heart centered unity, we would have the feminine be empty space and darkness as potential, but there wouldn't be all this shadow and ego and the just some of the distortions that are here that do belong in 3D, but are also part of this false matrix. So it's like we wouldn't even have the we wouldn't even associate darkness with shadow or something that needed to be integrated, because in 5D the shadow's already integrated. Darkness must be, because they know they're pulling all of their creations from the dark empty void that I keep calling the 13th house, where the great cosmic mother appears and says, "This is my house." And I was
yeah.
like, "Okay."
Well, that's true. That's true. However, in order to get even remotely close to that, we can't avoid it.
In
And
this realm, you mean?
yes,
Got it.
and and really in any realm, because unity is about integration, right?
Yes,
It's about
yes,
that darkness and that light coexisting. And
yes.
so what we see a lot of is, and that's why I don't call myself a light worker, but we see a lot of focus on the light, the
Yeah,
light. the light. And that's why I want to clarify that there is no inherent evil in darkness.
That's right.
And that is why I want to also clarify that feminine energy is darkness in its
Oh, you're helping me
primordial.
pull something in right now. This is a download I'm getting, okay, about the darkness and why, like here in duality, the satanic forces, the forces that are cut off from source, associate with this idea of darkness or absence of light, because they can't create, and that's where creation truly begins. And I never saw it that way. So they're almost siphoning the feminine because that's actually the creative force, and the masculine is the created force, right? Like this is masculine, this in between the fingers is feminine because that's where all the potential is. Yeah, I never saw it that way. So actually, it is in their best interest to siphon the feminine because that is where they're able to, what's the word I'm looking for? Source out their creations because they can't create themselves. So that's why they're using us to do that. But it's our feminine force that they're siphoning. It makes sense in their realm, but it is not serving us. So what is, in your work, what has been your journey with coming into the goddess and also these dark goddess feminine energies, which many of our light workers out there are sort of bypassing or avoiding?
Yeah. So this is a multi-layered question because when we speak on the goddess, there's levels, right? And so there are well, let me back up. There is the goddess, right? Capital G, goddess. There is the ultimate creative force of the universe. There is, as you called her, the great mother. There
Yes.
is the primordial essence from which everything has been birthed, whether we call it the black void, the black hole that the universe was
Yep.
created from, the blackness of the womb that all are birthed from.
Yeah.
There is the feminine essence that is where all has originated. So the work that I do now is centered in alignment with this energy,
Yeah.
with this primordial essence of the goddess. There also are emanations of the goddess that are the various goddess archetypes. And
Yes.
this is where we have her many forms that are expressed through the Lilith, the Persephone, the Venus, all of these lowercase g goddesses,
Hmm.
right? And essentially, these are prototypes that we can activate and work with. However, I do not use them in a fashion of worship.
Worship. You're right.
And, to each his own. I have had times in my life where I have worked with certain energies in partnership. However, where I am in my spiritual journey now, I prefer to connect directly with the primordial energy. And so the work that I do has evolved to reflect that.
Yeah.
And so, whereas in the past, I would work more with archetypes, at this time, I work with that primordial, ancient goddess energy that actually is accessible to all of us, that is in all of us. And it's not just, for women or about women, which is a huge misconception.
Mm.
And so that is the way that I work with the goddess. And what the goddess is Not only is the goddess the energy of creation and this overarching energy, the goddess is the energy of everything around us. And so when we are connecting with the world around us, the goddess is in all of that. The goddess is in this crystal. The goddess is in this shirt that I have on. The goddess is in everything. And so this is why I do not have the mindset or the approach of escaping from this, because it's really not about escaping it. That's actually a huge, huge, huge
When you
trick.
say this, do you mean the Matrix?
Yes.
Hold on, you cut out for just a second. I didn't hear your response to that.
Oh, I said, yeah, I'm getting there. I'm getting
Got it.
into it. Yeah, yeah. And so what, okay, so this is where I'm getting the word matrix. What most people don't realize when they say escape the matrix, what you have been programmed to believe, even in spiritual circles, even in spiritual pathways, or I should say neo spiritual, right? Kind of new age. But what most
Mm-hmm.
people don't realize, the word matrix is the mother.
Yeah.
If you look at
Yeah.
the root of that word, if you look at the Latin, the word matrix actually means the mother. So
Mm.
now we have been programmed and we have all these people running around saying, I have to escape the matrix. I have to escape the matrix. What they're literally saying is, I have to escape the mother. I have to
Hmm.
escape the
So
mother.
they're putting a spell
Yeah.
on it. And that's interesting because yesterday I was on someone else's podcast and they were asking me about they said it was about entrepreneurship, but they took it there. They said, "How would you tell people who are in the 9 to 5 how to get out of the matrix?" And I could tell that the matrix to this person was the corporate 9 to 5 program, and I was like, "I don't think you understand that you mean the false matrix, which means a video game you're living in. I don't think you realize that the matrix is not a construct of like working so much and working for the man. You don't really get what that means." And I told him we also need to be very clear that when we say the matrix, we need to say the false matrix,
Yep.
because every reality we could be in, the fifth density, is an organic matrix.
Yep. And I
We live in a
love that you said,
holographic matrix.
yeah.
It's supposed to be that way. I never knew or never thought of maternal and matrix being connected. You know, I took Latin forever ago, but my brain never made the association. And now, how perfect. Of course, it's the matrix, because the matrix is not actually the physical things, is what I'm being shown right now. The matrix is the potential that light is able to get trapped in to turn into form. So the matrix is feminine, although it feels like a structure or a grid. It's not set. We set it. So of course it should be called the matrix and not the patrix. Okay. So what a beautiful like aha moment for me right now, and for everyone to start being careful of what we're saying because of what spells we're casting constantly without even realizing it.
Yeah, and I love how you differentiate, the false matrix and the ascended matrix. I think that's really important and it really does give that distinction. So, what happened during, especially with the age of Pisces, but with this forcing of religion, this is exactly what you had. You had this separation between the earthly realm and the heavenly realm, and you had this demonization of everything earthly, right?
Hmm.
Everything down here is bad. Everything down here is low, is dirty, is not good enough. You want to get up here, right? And up here, that is the masculine energy, essentially. And so that's why we had in these, in the Abrahamic faiths, in this
Right.
epoch of the age of Pisces, we had this push to leave behind the earthly, leave behind the mother, escape the matrix, if you will, right? And come up here. And so by doing that, we were disconnected from everything that is the mother, from everything that is the earth. And that's why even now humans are so disconnected from the earth, which we know is the mother.
Pachamama. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So when we talk about returning to the mother, that is returning to the goddess. That is the
Mhm.
goddess energy. That
Mhm.
is the reclamation of self.
Mhm.
So it's not so much about what this goddess movement has been made to be in the new age realms.
But of course, it has every single thing that enters into into our sphere or that we bring forward. The New Age movement, and it has a program in and of itself. There aren't reptilians with New Age movement gears that they're constantly shifting. It was an algorithm they already set in place, just like the other religions. And then we take it to the next level and we keep it going. And so you have, here's what I was also discussing with someone yesterday who I was interviewing on the podcast. An incredible guest who said something along the lines of, you realize that when we were genetically modified by Anunnaki beings and by these different forces to turn our DNA off and everything, they specifically sort of wired you because they wanted to feel like gods. Inky and Enlil, the Anunnaki, who modified our DNA and had different reasons for it, and they fought over it, but neither one of their reasons were in our best interest as humanity. And they sort of programmed hypersexuality into us to make sure there were a lot of us, and programmed this need to worship a god. And so the goddess movement, when you have this rise in the feminine happening, as the rise in the true feminine is happening, because the ascension is happening, they're directly connected, because the organic matrix is just totally in alignment and full of the divine feminine, exactly as it should be in its organic form. So it's coming back online, but then you have the New Age movement and other powers that be that are seeking to distort it as that's happening. And so we have a lot of circles that I see, moon circles, goddess this, goddess that, and it starts to be siphoning and it starts to pull from dark feminine programs because it becomes, do you know how many girls or witches, excuse me, I'm going to call them witches. They've got their Persephone altar and they're not embodying her, they are bowing. That's where we've all been there. We all have our journey to realize, oh my God, I was giving my power away to a statue I got at the New Age shop instead of really embodying what she is, right? And I was using her to put spells on people, and I was 16 through 24. We've all had our journey in coming into realizing what we're really doing here and what our mission is. But do you feel that you're finding a lot of people, even in your work? What I'm getting right now psychically is sometimes you repel people as a manifester because they're coming in to not only worship you, but the goddess you're. Oh, I get it. Sometimes you're getting people who are wanting to worship the goddess through you and not themselves, and it's not a match at all. Please know, and this is for Nicole, for me, and because Spirit is coming through with this, please give it a few more years. The amount of people who are in alignment with you all, who are truly doing this at this level, there's not a lot of them, and they're not all traveling around to find you, okay? The amount of people wanting to embody the goddess and not worship it is really off right now. So, as a manifester tends to do with Aquarius rising, there's something new you're bringing forth that even I never thought of going to the source of the goddess instead of all these, I would even call them demigoddesses compared to the Great Mother.
Mhm.
So, talk to me about what you're seeing in the world right now when it comes to the goddess, and especially in your work, what you're encountering and how you help people or women specifically embody this or come into their own goddess.
Yeah. So one of the things that's really interesting about the time that we're moving into is I I remember listening to a podcast maybe a year or two ago from Molly McCord,
Yeah, I love her.
my
I
astrology
mean, I
thing.
can't. I had to graduate beyond, obviously, when Ascended
Yeah,
dropped
yeah,
in, because she
yeah,
won't even go there. But love
yeah.
her to death. She is
But she,
awesome, and
yeah,
she's an open channel.
yeah, and she channels anyway, so she isn't necessarily by the book. But one of the things that she mentioned, and it just stuck with me, was how we were moving into this time where we would look around and see a lot of people going through some really difficult situations and having a really hard time. And you and I know about, 2027, and I'm sure many people listening know about 2027, and even if you don't know, you can feel it and you can turn on the
I have a
news
whole
and
episode on it that I'm going to link right here at the end of this video on YouTube called 2027 The Great Prediction. Thank you for bringing that up, because there that is going to be a huge moment. That's Spirit just came through with that. When they just said you all need to give it a few more years, they were showing me 2027. You're going to have They need the mass expansion and consciousness on a DNA level for them to outgrow the program of power giving away to a higher source that must know better than my dumbass human self.
yeah, and
Hey,
we're being
we've
shown.
all had that.
And we're being shown. If you choose to continue to stay plugged into that, you are being shown bit by bit, piece by piece, why we do not need to be giving our power away to anything outside of ourselves. But what she said that stuck with me is you would see all of this, and yet there would be people who would be living their best life ever. And that stuck with me even before a lot of the framework that I work from now unfolded. And the way that I see that and work with that now, in addition to, how I tap into the goddess energy with that, is through what I call bliss centering, right? And what that is what people don't really realize is that we are intended to live lives of bliss. We are all from the goddess, whether you're male or female. The goddess is the creatress. It is not a masculine form that created, that is feminine. And the goddess also is the energy of bliss. And this is also when we say even things like earthly delights, right? And when we think of all of the things that have been shamed by religious constructs, when we were told we need to get up here, some of those earthly things were earthly pleasures, right? Were those feelings of bliss. And that is our birthright. And when we can return to just allowing ourselves to receive, that's a big one, right? For all of us, but especially for the feminine, but for all of us, when we can allow ourselves to receive, we are opening ourselves up to a life of bliss.
Mhm.
And bliss is not about perfection. Bliss is about just feeling good wherever you are. It
Mhm.
doesn't mean that you have the perfect house, that you have the perfect nuclear family, the perfect man or woman, the perfect fill in the blank. It means that whatever you do have, you let it feel good, because you
Mhm.
know that that's what you deserve, and you know that that's what you're here for. So the
Mhm.
work that I do and what has beautifully unfolded for me, especially over this last year, is this bliss work, this sensual healing energy is what I call it. And how I work with this energy is through literally helping people to tap into their bliss state. And yes, part of that is physical. A lot of it is also physiological. When we get into, the chemical reactions and those bliss cascades of the hormones in the body that we can activate very easily. And they're
Mm.
there for us to tap into. There is a reason why our bodies have bliss hormones, right? The anandamide, the
That's
dopamine,
right.
the serotonin. There are
Hmm.
reasons why those are in our bodies naturally. It's because
Hmm.
that is what we're here to experience. There's a reason why the body is not meant to experience cortisol, right? The stress hormone, for anything more than quick spurts.
Survival. Yeah.
It gets you
Quick.
out of tough situations,
Yeah.
and then that needs to be extracted from the body. That needs to be released. When we have long-term high cortisol levels, now this is the nurse in me coming out, that's when you have chronic inflammation. That's when you have chronic disease. That's when you have all of the illnesses that we see in modern society, because we are not meant to live in that state. We are meant to live in a state of feeling good. And so
Hmm.
people hear this and they look and they're like, well, look at what's going on in the world and da 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 da. But it's so important to, again, be bliss centered and know that it is possible and that we don't have to suffer, that we don't have to live lives of misery, especially for things that are going on afuera, out there, right?
Yes.
And that doesn't mean to not have compassion. It doesn't mean to be ignorant, but it does mean to really guard the out of your energy and do what you can, but also don't give what you don't have to give.
Hmm.
So if you are stressing yourself watching the news and worrying about this and worrying about that, and there's nothing that you can do about it, but you are giving and you are depleting your energy and you are increasing your cortisol, decreasing your dopamine and your serotonin, and you are now having to get a prescription for anxiety medication because you can't handle it.
Yeah.
You got to pull that back in, boo. You
Hmm.
got to pull that back in, and you have to give yourself permission. And we live
Hmm.
in a time right now where people feel like they can't give themselves permission because damn, Palestine is effed up.
I
Damn, this
know.
is going on. Damn, that's going on. But baby, you have to, because when you live in bliss, you are raising the vibration for everyone around you. You are
Yes.
actually creating a new grid by doing you.
Yes, and let's take it to the next level here. We live, and this is coming through really strong from this thing right here that happens. Okay, this isn't coming from right here or this little ego center. Okay, this is coming from right about here, and what we want people to realize, what I want people to realize, is that we do live in a Saturnian matrix, a Saturn moon matrix. There are Saturn death cults all over the world. The sexual misery program, the death cults, the death energy. Archons feed on death energy, decay, the upside down in Stranger Things, the demigorgon. It's an expression of the demiurge. This is all going back to the Gnostic texts of this false matrix that was created so that humans who are helping to create it, because we're the actual creator, are being siphoned by these beings that are disconnected from source to build their somewhat void hell realm that they're now trying to merge with the 3D false matrix. And we're bringing this up because Spirit recently shared with me, every time you have a blissful moment, the opposite of it is born within your 3D. And I said, wait a minute. So you mean when I go to do something good, and this sort of came up around this second Wicked movie called For Good, which is, she sings a song, which is the manifestor song called No Good Deed Goes Unpunished. And that's when she claims her role as the Wicked Witch. And Spirit said, every good deed you do here, the opposite becomes available. That's why we need you to get out of this 3D matrix. That way, when you all feel bliss, there is no polar opposite that is born from it. So I also wanted to bring into the conversation that as you pull in the goddess, you are pulling in where we're supposed to be in
I
5D,
love
where we
that.
don't get punished by Saturn.
There is only bliss. There is only bliss.
It's only that, Nicole, because the opposite of it only exists in duality and in the shadow, which is a mirror reflection of what is actually real. And it's inverted. But that's the nature of duality, to create this density. So we want people to know this. Do you want to give them the death that they're looking for? Or do you want to experience the pleasure that they can't feed off of, but also then create some distortion elsewhere? It can. Maybe all the stuff in Palestine is happening because of all this good stuff that's happening somewhere else. Maybe that's Saturn at work. If that's the case, the path of least resistance is to go into pleasure where they can't feed off of it, because from there you can get out. We don't mean escape the matrix. We mean escape the false, artificially intelligent matrix that is creating, which is actually a copy of a 3D. It's super distorted. You've got 5D organic matrix and then this 4D, 3D fall, as they called it, our fall of humanity into this density where they clipped our wings, right? Because we are angels. We are the Andromedans, who I'm extremely connected to, see us as royalty. We are galactic royalty. The human, the Lyran human, is on Earth and has been genetically modified down to 2 strands so that these void realm being archontic forces can siphon their creative energy. They were chosen because they were the ones with the most light, or they had so much creative potential, human. And I can just say, when you talk about bliss, we're getting there. But when we work with medicine, when we go into meditation, when we collapse those dualities and we feel that bliss, it's like, oh my gosh, the bliss that has no consequence. They feed off of the duality that births, like, the shame is also part of that. So I want you to talk a little bit about your work and the goddess that you're working with, which we all have access to. But in your work and in your process, where is this showing up for the light workers, the shadow workers, the people who are ascending, the ones who have an idea of what's going on? We would call them awakened souls. What does this work, how does it show up for those that are wanting to ascend? Because it feels like there's a role the goddess plays in our ascension. And I want your take on that.
Yeah. I see a lot of shame. You kind of touched on that. I definitely see a lot of shame, and I see a lot of this sense of duty, which is this offshoot of the feminine aspect of nurturing and caring. But when this nurturing and caring energy kind of almost becomes like a tumor, like it overgrows into like a cancer of responsibility and duty for the people around us. And so when we are so worried about everyone else, it takes away from our ability to receive. It literally blocks it, because you cannot receive if you feel guilty. You cannot receive if you feel ashamed. And what happens is this is a cascade of unworthiness, because now it becomes, how can I allow myself to receive when this, that, or that? And so many women have so much programming that they have to release around allowing themselves to receive. And the quickest way to throw that circuit, right? And to, I don't want to say bypass it, but to override that is to activate in the physical body those bliss cascades.
Yeah.
So literally, it's like a positive feedback loop, right? And so the more that you allow yourself to feel good, the more that you feel that you deserve to feel good. And it's literally, okay, give me more. Okay, give me more. Okay, I actually like this. Yeah, I do deserve this. But it starts with actually allowing those experiences to even happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And Mama Cacao is coming through very strongly right now. And that
Yeah.
is a medicine that actually contains anandamide
Yep.
and the bliss molecule and the love molecule, phenylethylamine. So, my advice to people would be go drink cacao every day, and you'll be shifted with the help of Mama and Pachamama into feeling more of this bliss and this connection so that you can start reaching for it more or you're reminded for it more. It won't do the work for you. But with that being said, Nicole, what are ways that people can start to experience more bliss and access more of the goddess?
Yeah. It is as simple as, well, first of all, I love the cacao. Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. It is a
Yes.
huge heart opener.
Yeah.
And using it with intention and setting intentions for yourself that you want to receive and just allowing yourself to receive. And when I say receive, I mean letting someone do something for you without feeling like, oh no, I'll pay you back or I'll get you next time. No, let someone do something for you. Stand at that door and let that man open the door for you, even if you have to wait an extra 5 seconds. And yes, it sounds stupid, but you're building cognitive patterns. You're
Yeah.
building cognitive patterns within your psychological framework that say, I'm worth being taken care of. It's not
Mhm.
just about the door, it's not just about the coffee, it's I'm worth being taken care of. And so, in order to reprogram those neural circuits for something that has been your program, not just for your life, but your probably your parents, your grandparents, is you have to start allowing those day-to-day actions to transpire where you are taken care of. Another thing that's really simple, I have to plug my computer in. Another thing that's really simple is touch. And it
Yeah.
does not have to be touch with with a sexual outcome,
Right.
but literally touching yourself, literally just touching your body, allowing yourself to feel that simple pleasure. It feels good just to take your fingers and just caress your face, just simple pleasures. And this is really just activating those simple pleasure pathways in your body, allowing yourself a moment of peace, allowing yourself a moment of quiet where you're not answering the phone, where you're not having to respond to someone, where you're not having to be responsible for someone else. And I know that not everyone has the ability to, just not take care of their kids or whatever, but even if that means going in the bathroom and locking the door for 5 minutes, whatever it is that you have to do so that you can get moments to just exhale and allow yourself to be calm. Also, indulgence, indulging without feeling guilty.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't mean to not take care of yourself. And there is a difference between indulging and binging, right?
Yes.
But allowing yourself to indulge in those earthly pleasures, anything that you think of that would fall into that category of earthly pleasures that have been
Yeah.
demonized,
Yeah.
allow yourself to experience it. I got some dark chocolate right here that stays on deck all the
Oh,
time.
I got some Blue Lotus right here.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. Blessings and
Although it's definitely a medicine, but
yeah,
it
it's
also
weird.
makes you feel relaxed and calm and good. And lotus has an aphrodisiac effect, which that's not what I'm looking for today, but a blissful effect.
Yeah,
So even certain medicines you can merge with to induce that feeling so that you can find it again. That doesn't mean it's doing the work for you or anything like that, or that you are getting addicted to something, right? When you are aware and you're conscious and you're awake, these types of things you can participate in differently. You know, I don't drink, but I also don't demonize other people for drinking wine and things like that, even though it's a really dark energy, it could be. But I think their energy works with wine differently. Their channels open for some of these people I'm talking about when they drink wine. I I was super psychic when I would be drunk at parties. Not the best way to do it, but it didn't dull things for me. It made certain things open. We're all different. And we all have to understand indulging feels like intention and awareness.
Yeah.
I'm choosing to be really human and experience because I'm so out of my body. You empaths and highly sensitive people and healers, you're out of your body so much. Maybe a good, you know, I almost said a good fucking.
But yes, sure.
I was like, okay, fudge. Maybe
Like,
some fudge. Maybe some dark chocolate fudge and a good fucking and a good housewife marathon. And you will just understand that, like, sometimes when people say escape the matrix, I'm like, look, I know they gave us TV and chocolate and all these different colorful foods and clothes to keep us sort of at bay in our hamster cage. But I can still get out of the hamster cage and watch Housewives and also find, like an alchemist, the gold in this iron cage we're in, right? That's mastery. I'm never going to get anywhere by fighting the quicksand.
Mhm.
Okay? Yeah. This matrix has been going a long time, this false matrix. So it's like play the game and enjoy it because even in 5D, you're in a body and you do feel pleasure.
Exactly.
So
And we're here to have those experiences. We can talk about the 5D, 6, 7, 8, 9D, but the reality is we're in a 3D physical body, and we will be for probably a very long time. We probably got a few million years before we're just poof, just
you think
in
it'll be
the
that long?
ethers. I
Let's tune into it.
I do, but I also
Does
think
your
that
logical Aquarius brain say it has to take millions of years to go from carbon to crystalline, right?
time is moving faster. So I can say a million years and it can feel like 10.
Yeah, that's true. Especially to the soul.
Yeah.
The soul would feel it that way for sure. So I think that understanding that we're taking our bodies with us during the ascension process is really important. And the false matrix we're in, the Saturn moon matrix, the Saturn cube program we're in, is designed to set off the cortisol, adrenaline cascade as much as possible. Trauma programs, manipulations, mind control, frequencies, direct energy weapons, 5G, 6G. Oh God, YouTube's going to censor the heck out of me now. Okay, I can't care about that stuff. Okay. But I, with all of that going on, your body's really been entrained into the lower frequencies. So indulging with intention and awareness, inducing blissful states, whether through tantric sex, meditation, going to sacred sites, working with plant medicines, drinking cacao in the morning, actually helps to entrain you to the organic matrix. Hello, cacao exists in 5D Earth. It existed before the fall. It exists. It holds that memory. You all have so many tools at your disposal to access bliss, not because of an escape, but because that's actually what you're going to experience a lot. And ask anyone who's died. Even when you die in your 5D form, you're going to experience bliss not being in the physical body. And then you're going to want to come back because the level of bliss you got from eating a cupcake, oh, those spirits love. They love cakes and candies and alcohol. They love coming into the 4D and merging with your energy so they can taste that recipe they passed down to you through you. Don't get it twisted. They love it here. Okay? No one wants this false matrix to exist anymore in the universe. Yes, but the false matrix is not the only place that's dense and physical. So they love physicality. They don't love the suffering here. There's something unnecessary happening in this false matrix. Okay? And so what do you feel the role of the goddess is in this ascension process that we're in?
Yeah. The goddess is the remembrance. It's the remembrance for us of who we really are. And so, just like I was saying earlier, the goddess is in all living things. The goddess is the energy that is the spark of life, but the goddess is the energy that permeates the matrix. That's my my belief on it. And so when we remember the goddess, we're remembering that we contain this divine power within us, that we contain this awe-inspiring, all-encompassing beauty within us, that we contain within us the power of the word, right? The power of creation, the beauty of the word, the beauty of creation, beauty for beauty's sake. We contain every element of the goddess within us. So the goddess journey is a journey of remembrance and return,
Mm.
because that is where we become free.
I feel Lotus's energy. Of course I do. Okay. But I feel her energy so strong, and there's all this here and all this Egyptian stuff going on here. And then I looked over, and your lamp almost looks like a blue lotus. It's the same exact color as Nymphaea caerulea, this specific medicine. And oh my gosh, the openings that she can create, but you use remembrance, and that's her thing, high priestess of the remembrance in our world. And even right now, I just feel this like Egyptian goddess thing happening. And she really loves this conversation.
Yeah.
Definitely anything having to do with remembering and opening up here, because she's such a, I mean, just the amount of bliss that you can experience when you are completely open to the divine. That's
Yeah.
the thing, is you've got so many people not even able to access that level of bliss. They are able to access the bliss from the cocaine molecule
Yeah.
causing something synthetic to happen, which is can be helpful. That could be medicinal in certain ways. But when you open the crown and the third eye, and especially when you work with certain medicines that aren't doing that, but they take you up into spirit, you're able to experience a bliss that many describe when they come back from their near-death experiences. It's just worthiness. It's just warmth. It's just satisfaction. It's just yummy. It's just peace. But peace, it doesn't describe it, because peace feels like nothing happening, and bliss feels buzzy. It
Yeah.
feels alive.
Yeah. Yes. It feels like smiling for no reason. It
Yeah.
feels like goosebumps with no one touching you.
Yeah.
It is, and actually, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that reminded me of something else I wanted to touch on,
Yeah.
is we can also open pathways of bliss through our spiritual practices as well. And so there are so many ways, and it is about balance, right? So when we talk about indulgence versus, binging or that kind of thing, and intention, it's all about balance. But also, there are many pathways to bliss. So many people, have euphoria when they exercise. I'm not one of them,
Uh,
but
uh, uh. I'm
but
like,
more
you
power to them.
generators can kiss our asses with all that
You guys,
euphoria at the gym. Okay.
go for your
It
bliss,
doesn't do that for
energy.
me.
Go for your bliss.
Dancing will, but it still will wear me out in a way
Yeah.
that feels like I got hit by a
Well, and,
truck.
and it's like you have to do it for a certain amount of time to actually build up that response, that endorphin response. And
And
I
I
just
can't
don't
get
have
there.
that.
Me
I'm
neither.
not I'm not
I
gonna do
can't
it.
get there.
I
Manifestor
ain't
forever,
gonna do it.
honey.
Yeah, yeah. But so there are other things that we can do. So one of the things that I have been working with this year, I started, and it's been such a beautiful journey. Um, I've been working in the what's called the Dasa Mahavidya tradition,
Mm,
which is the tradition of the goddess in Hinduism.
yeah.
And
Yes.
this has been such a beautiful experience. And so when we talk about the Dasa Mahavidyas, it's actually the 10 forms of the goddess.
Yeah.
And so, for example, we've heard of, Kali, right? She's one of the 10 forms.
Mother of the
But
universe.
yeah, but they're all forms of the Great Mother.
Right.
And so one of the things that I have been doing as part of my daily practice is mantras. And for me, as a manifester, our throat centers, our voices are very, very pivotal to who we are.
Yeah.
And the mantras actually are you using your voice, right? To activate these pathways, to clear your energy, to balance you, and to align you with, depending on which mantras you're working with, but to align you with different aspects of the goddess.
Yeah.
When you work with something like mantras, certain people, I've also had this experience with breath work. I've done breath work and I have gotten into a complete euphoric state, like I was
Of
high
course.
AF, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't, breath work isn't really my jam like that,
Right.
but I have had that experience.
Me too.
Like I said, I do my mantras and I will feel her energy come in and light me up. Like it
Yeah.
feels like I'm like in journey,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
literally, I will feel lit up. I will start laughing. Like I have my own little space where I do it. So nobody's like, okay,
Yeah.
crazy. But I will like get into a complete state of bliss.
Hmm.
And so there are spiritual practices that you can do that will activate those bliss pathways for you
Absolutely.
also. And what I will say is it's so, so, so important to not force something that doesn't feel right for you. I see a lot of people, I've had a lot of clients who feel like they should do this specific thing because
Right.
that's the spiritual thing and that's what
Totally.
they should be doing, right? But if you don't like that ish, don't do it. If it feels like a chore, if it feels like I'd rather wash the dishes than do this, but I'm not going to admit it to anybody, but that's really how I feel about it, that's not the thing for you.
Yes.
And
Path of
that's
least
okay.
resistance.
Yeah, and also the path of alignment. What's aligned for you? I love working with mantras. I love working with mantras, but somebody else might hate it, right? Some
Yeah.
people
I
might,
love mantras as well.
yeah, some
Yeah.
people might, love meditation. Some people might hate it. Whatever it is, and I
That's
just
right.
got like goosebumps. Whatever it is, your task is to figure out what is the thing that makes you laugh when nobody said a joke, right?
Yeah.
What is the
Yeah.
thing that makes you crack a smile when nobody said a joke? What is
Yeah.
the thing that makes you just feel good? What's the thing that when you do it, you're like, oh, I'm so glad that I do this. I'm so
Yeah.
glad that I made the time to do this. That's the thing for you. The thing that you dread and then you do it and you're like, well, I guess I can check that off and get my spiritual cool points for that. But
Right.
you
Right.
know, that's
Right.
not the thing. And it's performative. When we
Yeah.
do that, we have to remember that even if nobody's watching, you're still being performative if you're forcing yourself to do something because of the shoulds. And this is
Yeah.
something that I talk to my clients about all the time. The shoulds, like should is like a dirty word for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anytime you're doing something based on shoulds, you
Hmm.
have to tune in. Whether if you're an ego authority, it's super, super important for you to want to do it, right? If you're a splenic authority like me, right? If you're a splenic authority like me and you go to do it and you hear this little no, it's not for you, right?
Yeah. I don't
If
get that often. I don't
Yeah,
get uh-uhs like that.
yeah,
I
yeah,
really have to modulate because
yeah.
if the ego wants it, I don't know.
That's
Yeah, I
it.
wish there was a splenic like bouncer at the door.
Yeah, but it's not as loud as the ego. So you really have to listen because she's gonna say it, and then she's gonna be like, "Okay, you want
Yeah.
to do it? Then fine, go ahead and do it." And then when XYZ, I'm just gonna sit back and say I told you so. So
Oh yeah, I get myself into trouble all the time.
yeah, but if you're a sacral authority, if your gut is telling you mm-mm or mm-hmm, and for sacrals, a lot of times you have to have that question to pull out
Right.
that response from
That
you.
clarity, yeah.
Right. But also you will have that guttural kind of yes or no. If you don't feel excited about it as a sacral, if you don't feel lit up by it, why are you doing it? To
Yeah.
prove something to who? But
Yeah.
there's so many paths. That's what's so beautiful. And even with, me finding the goddess pathway in this Hindu tradition this year, which has been such an amazing confirmation of so many downloads that I
Who
got.
are the goddesses that come through for you the most, or you feel most connected with?
Yeah. So I love, love, love Matangi. And
Hmm.
Matangi is the higher form of Sarasvati.
Saraswati, yes.
Yeah. And
That's who I
so,
feel very connected to
yeah, yeah.
in
And so,
Lakshmi.
yeah. And so, um, Kamala, right? She's the higher form of Lakshmi. And
Hmm.
so with the Dasha Mahavidyas, they're like the hidden forms of the goddess.
Yeah.
They're like the
They're
higher
the,
realm.
yeah, the higher self of the goddess we have
Yeah.
direct access to,
Yes.
which is the doorway into the great goddess
Yeah.
of all. Yeah, totally.
So I love Matangi and I also love Ma Durga. Ma Durga, I love her. So Ma Durga is not one of the 10. She is actually the mother goddess energy.
Hmm.
And um, when I read her story, I was like, I love her. So Ma Durga
Is she the
is,
one with the lion and multiple arms?
yeah,
Yes.
the lion. Yes.
Yes.
When you saw that, I was like, yeah, I'm here for it. Yeah. But Ma Durga is known
Hold
as,
hold on, lean forward a little bit. It sounds like you're underwater.
uh-oh.
Like your mic is going out or something.
Can you hear me okay?
That's better.
If it's not better, I do have a headset. I can get
This
like
is
real
better.
live.
This is
So
better.
just let
Yeah.
me know. Okay.
Yeah. I'm just going to
Um,
let the whole world see that Mercury. I'm going to blame Mercury.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Exactly. So, but Ma Durga is the mother goddess that the other Hindu gods called on when demons were wreaking havoc on earth. So
Got it.
all of the other Hindu gods, your Vishnu, your Shiva, all
Yeah.
of them were like, they were getting their butts whooped, right?
Yeah.
And the demons were running amok and they had taken control of basically of the heavens, right? And so they called Ma Durga down and
Hmm.
she came in and she basically had this epic battle and she brought forth these feminine forms of each of those gods
Yes.
to assist her,
Yeah.
right?
The
And she,
Davies.
yes, and she slayed all of the demons. But
Uh-huh.
she did it in a way where she gave them so many chances,
Yeah.
right? She
Grace.
really they basically they tried her, right?
Yeah.
Like they really tried her, like, we're about to try to take you as one of our consorts, quote unquote, and
Yeah.
blah blah blah. And she was kind of playing sly, like, oh no, please don't. So they came for her
Yeah.
and she got fierce.
Yeah.
She got
Yeah.
really fierce, right? And the demons in the Hindu tradition, they represent our own demons, right?
Yes.
So they
Yes.
represent our own vices, our own shadow side, our own shadow energy. And so she slays all these demons, and then she basically tells the gods that whenever somebody calls to her, that she's there, that whenever somebody needs her, that she's there, that whenever somebody recites her verses, that she will remember them, that she will bless them, that she will be there. But
Yeah.
it's this beautiful story of this great mother energy that is always there, always watching, has to allow, because that's the divine order. But when you call on her, and I'm getting goosebumps saying this, when you
Yeah.
call her in, she will kick ass for you.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
have to allow that energy in. And that energy, again, is in us, right? So she's always there. She's
Right.
always a part of us. She's always there to be accessed by us, to be tapped into by
Hmm.
us. But we have to remember her. So
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
we come back to that
I see.
remembrance.
Yeah. And reciprocity, like,
Mhm.
I will remember you if you remember me.
Yep.
Same way when we come into ceremony with some of these medicines, there's what are you giving to the medicine, right?
Mhm.
Ex- Other than your questions and attention, what are you
Mhm.
offering to this land, right? Because that's what activates the signal. That's a phone call. Both lines are open and receiving and outputting. So I want to say
Exactly.
thank you for being here and thank you for bringing all your wisdom. We're going to have you on for another episode so we can dive deeper into some of these modalities like astrology, human design, how they show up in your goddess work. But for the meantime, will you please tell my audience where we can find you and how we can work with you and what you're offering?
Absolutely. So I am the Goddess Catalyst on Instagram. I keep saying I'm gonna get on the TikTok wave, but I'm not quite there at the moment. Um, you can also find me at thegoddesscatalyst.com. Currently, I do offer Bliss Blueprint readings, which are
Mm,
channeled intuitive readings as well as astrology readings, where we specifically look at what is the pathway of least resistance to bliss for you? How to activate that? What's holding you back from that? And what remedies can you utilize in order to activate your bliss? I do also in person, if you're in the Atlanta area, I have she sessions, which is sensual healing energy, which is a modality that I have created that is a
love it.
form of energy healing and intuitive work that specifically activates your bliss pathways. And I also do 1 day VIP days, expanding your capacity to receive and activating bliss also in the Atlanta
Love
area.
it. Very cool. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your
Absolutely.
open channel and bringing through the goddess in all her many forms so beautifully, and for playing with me in all of these different dimensions and perspectives and realms. And I also want to thank our audience for holding space for us, for witnessing two manifestors using our voice to share our truth, but also then opening our channel as a result and bringing in something new that many of you might be a code for us to lock in, but those who are listening as well, if you're listening to this, no matter if it's 10 years from when this is recorded, something's going to click into place from this. And I really appreciate you being a part of this co-creation and all of you as well. And we will see you next time for another episode of Ascend the Matrix.